Hi everyone. This video is not an assignment, but it's a video to help you out. I've got some tips and tricks on map making and cartography using the layout tool in ArcMap. So what you see here is just that old world population map from the first assignment that we did. And I want to just place this into a layout view and add the map elements that I need to make it a good map. So I'm going to click here. If you remember, this sends you to the layout view. And I don't like this orientation for this map. Look, I'm wider than I am tall here. So this portrait layout is not as good as landscape. So to do so, I go to File. And if this pops up when you hit on File, this has never done this to me before. I have no idea where this comes from, but this is a new thing for me. If this pops up and wants you to log in, just hit the little X button here. You can still do the work you need over here. So I go to Page and Print Setup. So it's File, Page and Print Setup. And I wait until this comes up. And I want to change this to Landscape. Now look, it says Landscape right here. That tells me the paper that's in the printer is Landscape. But down here, you'll see this is my map page. So I need to change that to Landscape. So now this shows me what the map, the data frame looks like on the map. And so that doesn't look quite right. We'll fix that when we get over there. Also, notice we've got scale maps proportionally to the changes in printer size. If I uncheck that, it kind of throws this over here. So you can either check that and it'll automatically place that within the page, or if it's unchecked, it's kind of off the page and you have to go grab it and put it back on there. So that's what that means. This is your map. This is a sample of your map. All right, so another thing to look at up here, notice I've got a printer here. This is only prints legal and letter and a little bit bigger. This is a small size printer. So if I have a plotter that I know that I want to take my work to, if I'm going to Kinko's or someplace to print there, I go to Microsoft XPS Document Writer, and then I have all these different sizes I can go to. I have Super Tabloid and all this. Oh, Super Tabloid, Super B, whatever that is, Tabloid, whatever that is. I'm not sure. Some of these things I've never seen before. But there's also poster size in here. Envelope. I can print my map on an envelope. Why? I don't know. But there's some poster size settings in here. D size, that's a poster size. E size is enormous. I call it E for enormous. It's a really large poster size. But I'm not doing that right now. I'm going with my Epson, a little Epson here. So it knows that it only has so many sizes that I can choose from here. Okay, so I've set this to Landscape, and now I'm going to say OK, and you'll see that this changes. And now I need to reshape this for my map. Now I can make this, now see, this doesn't fill the scene. So now I need to get this to fill this square. So I use this tool, or sometimes I'll just use these fixed zoom in. Oops, I hit zoom out. I use these fixed zoom in tools to fill that box. And now it's a little bit too full, so I need to open my box up a little bit here and maybe zoom back out a little bit. Bring this down and so forth. So now I've got this map. I've got all the space up here for title. That's too big. I've got some space over here for legend and everything. What I want to do is keep trying to fill the page. If the map is the most important thing on the page, then we want to make the map the most important thing on the page. So I've got to get that balance just right. And I'm going to try zooming in one more time and see if I can fill that. And that fills that box pretty well. All right. So I'm going to put this in the middle here. And I'm going to put a title. Now this is not going to be the prettiest map in the world. If I were to do that, honestly, I would spend hours. I would spend definitely more than the time I have in this video, but then you'd be really bored watching me tweak everything to get it to look right. So here's my map. I have room for a title up here. So to put in a title, you can do it two ways. You can go Insert Title, and this pops up. It automatically goes to Module 1 MXDate. And if you look here, the text, it's telling it to go grab this off the title of your work. So if you want to change this to Map of World Populations, and I'm not going to get fancy with titles or anything here because you would get really bored watching me. So I type Map of World Populations in there. If this is too small, 16 point, that's really small, you have to go into Change Symbol. I can't go in here. I can't, whoops, and look what I just did. I got rid of my title. I can't go in there. I guess I accidentally hit Enter somehow. And type in here and change my font size. I have to go to Change Symbol. So I click on that button. Click it again because nothing happened. And I have to sit here and wait. And it's going to tell me not responding until it finally shows up. So if you get that not responding thing, it just sit and wait for a little bit. I'll make this 24. I can also change the color of the title if I want it to be red. I don't want to change the color of the title, so you can change also the spacing over here and the style and the little drop shadow and stuff, but I'm just going to go with basics. Okay. And say okay. And that's a little too small, but we'll leave it because you don't want to keep watching me change the title over and over and over. We can fill this up a little bit more though. Okay, so other elements that I want. I'm going to squeeze that up a little bit because I want some room down here for my other things. I need to have a neat line around the map. I don't want my pages, I don't want my maps and my words falling off the map. So I do have a neat line around my data frame that comes in automatically. But I want a neat line around the map. So I go to Insert. We go to Neat Line. And this tells you the type. Don't get really fancy. This is crazy down here. This is for if you're trying to be really artistic or whatever with your map. You don't want to get too crazy with it. It will put in a background for you. I don't want a background. So I'm going to say none on that in this one. And I'm going to say OK. See, it says place around all elements. This is around everything on the page. So this comes in, and now I can resize it to the page. And one thing that you'll find, depending on your printer, sometimes when you put a neat line on something and you print it out, sometimes it'll fall off the page, and it just depends on your printer settings. Okay, what I'm trying to do right now is keep that from being too close to that line. All right, so I've got my map element. I've got my Map of World Populations as my title. If I can also do, if I wanted to insert a title, I can use text as well. This comes down here, this tiny little thing here, double click on it, but you get it just right. Oh, it takes a little working with it. I'm going to move it down here so I don't keep. And there I go. I can do the same thing with that. Move it wherever I want to. And sometimes you want to just put a little text on here just to explain. This is a map of the world populations in 1998 or something like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just get rid of that. That text tool is there, and some people prefer to use that instead of the title tool. It's your choice. All right. So we know that we can insert text if we want to write about something on there, explain anything. Dynamic text will put the current date, time, all sorts of different things on there. Just know that you're there. We can put the author on there. It automatically makes the author Esri. But it will put today's date on there if you want that on there. So other things, we need a legend. Let's put a legend on there. Now, one thing to notice, I can put everything in my legend if I want just the world countries on there. I could also put a grid on there. And I've got my countries on there. I'm just going to leave that on there. I'm not putting the country outlines on there. I don't necessarily have to have a grid on there. So I'm going to take my grid off. Let's just do that without a grid. We just have a simple world countries. I think that's what I've got on there. Make sure I put countries and not city. All right, so next we go here. Come on. Oh, it's stalling out on me. Okay, so as you move through the legend wizard, you'll see that you have a place for your legend title, and it automatically goes to legend. It's better to not have a legend title than have a legend title that says legend. It's kind of silly, legend, and then you know people know it's a legend. So I'm going to remove that. Sometimes you do want a legend title, but in this case, since my map of the world is called Map of the World Populations, I won't really need an extra legend title there. But in this case, I'm going to put it on there, just so you can see what it does. And you can change the color and font and all of that here. So I'm going to the next one. You can put a border around your legend if you would like one. You can put a background if you'd like one. I'm just doing that to show you. You don't have to. There's no. It all depends on your audience and who you're doing this for, and how. If you're trying to be artistic with it, or if you're just trying to present some information really quickly, that's all going to depend. This is why I said it could take hours to make a nice map, because you've got all these choices that you need to make. You want borders and backgrounds and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we can change the size of the symbol patch. And the patch is the little area that goes next to it that shows the colors of the world. So you can change the size here. I'm going to leave it with the default. And you can also change the spacing. I'm going to go with default. And so here's my legend. Notice that it doesn't really fit on there exactly like I want it. And also notice that I've got 7,036 to 23,301.725. That makes no sense, does it? That 0.725 of a person walking around in Bolivia, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things to how you can deal with this. First of all, if I go here and I right click on here and I go to symbology, and I apologize for my computer running so slowly. We watched the rotating donut for a little while. Alright, so I go to symbology. Okay, it's down here in properties. And wait for that to come up. Watch my little donut running around in circles. You'll notice that sometimes it will go to not responding. Don't freak out if it does that. Just give it some time and it should come back. If it does that for 5 minutes, then well, this is interesting, isn't it? If it does that for 5 minutes, then you'll want to do something about that. You may have to shut it down and restart, which is unfortunate. Okay, so to deal with that point whatever of a person we had, oh, that wasn't point whatever. It was I need new glasses, but let's pretend it did. Let's pretend that you wanted to round it up or round it down. You can actually change your labels here. I'm not going to do that because I read that wrong and I feel silly now. But you can change your labels here. If you did have a 0.725 of a person on here, then you can take that off. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit cancel here. But you can change your labels if you want to. I am going to hit cancel. So that goes away. I can't believe I did that. That just shows you how bad my eyes are. All right. So other things we can do with this legend. If I don't want world populations, world countries, total population, that putting world countries on there might not make sense. It's pretty obvious that these are countries. So if I don't want world countries there, or if I wanted to change it to something else, like countries of the world or something else, or if I wanted to get rid of total population and I just wanted to put population in there, anything I want to change over here, right through here, I can change in my table of contents. And that was the whole point of me showing you. You can go in and change the labels and the symbology if you need to change the way that looks. And if I don't want total population, I just want to write population, I can do that. It automatically changes that. If I don't want population there at all, since I've said world populations and I've got population there, I just click on that till I get to where I can rename it and delete. And there you go. This still looks kind of silly. Like I said, I was just putting that world populations in there to show you how to do the legend. So let's get rid of world countries. Now you may want to come back eventually if you're doing some work in managing this, and you'll probably want to come back and put the name of this back in here. And the way you can do that is click here. If you, like, say you forgot what you named it, click here, go to properties, and you can go back in here. Hopefully what you've done is put a description in here and the original name before you wipe that out if you're worried about losing the name of it. You can put this is these. So if you do have to delete that, it's a good idea to put your description in here so that if you need to bring that back, you can. Another thing you can do is, if you don't want to delete it, you can go in here to the general and take visible on or off. Whoops, now what just happened? That's the first time for me. There we go. I'm not sure what happened. It just unchecked it for me accidentally. So I put that back in there. Right click on the layer and go to properties. I can make that invisible. So I can either delete it out of that or I can make it invisible here. And this is a new thing. This is the first time. Every time I work with GIS, it never fails. Every time I teach a class, I see something new come up. I've never seen it do that before, where I go and I change the description or the title, and it just, whoops, it just unchecks it for me. How about that? All right. Other things you can do with this legend, I can, whoops, wrong thing. Double click that. I did get it. I can go down here. I can go to items and wait. So if this is happening to you at home, fear not, because it just does it. Okay, so I can work with different items in here. I can change font to apply to different labels. I can deal with the layout. This tells me the gaps between each one of these patches. These are called patches. I can change. I can do some text wrapping. It's not going to apply in this case because I don't have anything that long to wrap. But you can see all the different things and choices in here. There's your frame again, and your size and position. So you see you've got some different choices here. Oh, and another thing might be helpful here in my case, because my legend is a little tall. If I want to change the number of columns, I can click here. I can change the number of columns. I can go here, and let's say I want 2 columns. Say OK, and it changes it to 2 columns. Now it's getting a little crowded here, so I'm not going to make you watch me try to fit all of these things in, but you can play with the columns, you can play with the sizes and move things around as you need to using the properties. Okay, so we also need a north arrow, and this is not great. It could work, but it makes your legend really stand out. If you really want your legend to stand out, to sit it on top of this data frame here. But I would, if I were doing this to turn in or to give to an official or present at a conference or something, I would definitely be working a lot harder to make my map look better. Okay, my next thing I want to show you is the north arrow. Pretty simple, but one thing you don't want to do, I'm just going to grab this north arrow. This is a standard one. You see all sorts of different north arrows in there, tons of different types of north arrow. I'm going to go with this basic one. And it puts it in there and you think, oh, that's really little. It's good for it to be little. the most important thing on this map is not the direction of north. This is something you want someone to just refer to. So if you've got a lot of white space to fill, a lot of times when people have white space to fill, I'll put a north arrow in there, and they just make it as large as possible. Ooh, let's put it out here in the Pacific Ocean. That's not good. It means the most important thing is that north is up here. There's nothing wrong with putting one of these elements, like your north arrow, on top of your data frame, if it fits, if there's no islands out here or anything. So if this was really, really crowded, and I had no room, if I had to fill this up with text down here, I can put it on the data frame. That's fine. I'm going to plop it down here just because. Okay, some other things we need. We've got our title. We've got the map element. We've got the neat line. We've got our legend. We've got the north arrow. What else is missing? What else is missing is you. We need to identify who provided this map. So this is going to be where you put your text in, and then you insert text, and then you have to hunt for it because it makes it tiny. It puts it right in the middle. So we go and we try to grab that text. When you get that four-pointed arrow thing hovering over it, that means you can grab it. Double click on it. We want this to be probably at least 10 or 14, so I'm going to change the symbol and wait and wait and wait, and yay, let's change that to 14 point. You don't want it to be huge, but you want people to be able to read it. I'm going to say okay with that, and then now I can type my name in here, and provided I can type correctly. You can put author, map designed by, however you want to refer to yourself, map provided by. Say okay, and we're going to put that in the bottom down here. That might even be a little too large, but I'm going to leave it so you don't have to keep watching me change the font. We also need text to tell us where did the data come from. Okay, come on. And I can put this down here as well. Double click, and we're going to say data source is, in this case it was Esri, so let's make that the same size as my name down here, and we wait and wait, and we get here to 14, and again you can do all these sorts of style changes and say okay. Data source ESRI. One more thing we need. We've got our map of world populations. We've got, there's the title. We've got the map element. We've got this legend. We've got a north arrow. We've got the source. We've got the author. We've got the neat line. One thing's missing. And it doesn't always have to go there, but in this case, I'm going to tell you we need it. That's the scale bar. And it will automatically go to this one here. If you want, let's say you can pick any of these. Remember, these up top here, these are better for reference maps. These are better for thematic maps. I'm just going to grab this one here. And I'm going to say, okay, it says it's scale to fit. We'll put it there. Puts it right in the middle. We can move that down. What if I don't like this? I don't like that it's measured in 1050. Nobody talks in terms of 1050 miles, 1050 miles. Yeah. How far is it from there to there? Oh, you would say, oh, about 1,000 miles or about 1,200 miles. You talk in terms of 100, 200, 300, or so forth. But it's really funny here. It says 1050, 2100, 4200, 6300. That's a really weird, uneven way of doing that. So you can go to your properties of your scale bar. You can change the number of divisions. But right here, when resizing, we can, if we click on adjust width, it allows me to give the division here, and I can say 1,000. And down here, we state what we want, if it's in, right here, if it's in miles or kilometers. What if we want kilometers? 1,000 kilometers at a time. I can change it to that. I can also change it to adjust the number of divisions. Adjust just the division value. If I adjust the division value, it decides for you. And so if you wanted that to be 1,000, 2,000, so forth, you have to keep playing with the width of this to get it to adjust. So we want it. Let's just do adjust width. And we can adjust many different things, but we're going to adjust width. And I've got my 1,000 kilometers. Also, you've got all sorts of other things you can do here. So when you're playing around with this, check out all these other choices. Doesn't want. Oh, here we go. Not responding in the donut again. So anyway, you've got all these other things you can check on and change colors and that sort of thing. Let's just go with the basics. So I'm going to apply and say OK, and look, it crunched everything too tight. So maybe 1,000 was not very good for me. Let's go with 5,000 and only have 2 divisions. So, but this is where you can play with your scale bars and all of the different things that you want to put on there. And so that gives me everything I want on my map. So on your maps, you should have your title, your map element. Sometimes you may have more than one map element. If you wanted to focus on Brazil, you might have a big map of Brazil and a small map of the world off here in the corner. That's called an inset, showing where Brazil is in terms of the rest of the world. Anyway, so I've got my map element, I've got my title, I got my neat line, I got my legend without the legend title, and you look at that. I shouldn't have put that world population on there, but I did. We've got my north arrow, I've got my scale bar, I've got my source of my data, and I've got the person that designed it on here. By now you have figured out how to export, but I'll show you. Oh, here we go with this again. By now you figured out how to export. You go to export map, and you have many different choices. I've been asking for PDFs so far, and they seem to be working just fine. But you do have the other choices there. You've got JPEG and PNG and TIFFs, EMFs, whatever those are. I'm not that familiar with those. TIFFs are huge. I would stay away from those. PNGs are not bad. JPEG's not bad. Where's I know PDF is on there. I just passed it right there. PDF. So there you go. Some tips and tricks, not tips and trips. I guess I want to make a trip around the world. Tips and tricks on how to play around with the different elements and features on the map. So there you go. Have fun with making your maps this week. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me the email or send me a text or give me a call. All right. We will see you later.